Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Now, it's taking me a couple of days to digest this more than anything, because I'd like to think that I want to see violence as an absolute last resort. I don't condone it. I condemn it at every step. I don't know why the lighting is going awkward here. That's very strange. But anyway, I'd like to think of violence as only do this if you have completely exhausted all other options and you've done everything you can to resolve it peacefully. Because at the end of the day, there are people who you may dislike, but they're still normal people at the end of the day, or at least most of them are. But I've had to come to a realization that I don't think we're living in a democracy anymore, quite frankly. It reminds me of The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes. Anybody remember? When, I think it was at the end of season 2, I believe, where he basically comes out and he says, this is no longer a democracy. I think I might actually know what's going on. Hold on. Let's see if that works. Lights off through there. Anyway, I believe fundamentally now that we are no longer living in a democracy. And it's what Rick said to his band of merry men and women when a number of people had died. The farm that Rick was staying at was overrun by the walkers. And he basically said to everyone, this isn't a democracy anymore. He was basically taking charge. Well, it feels similar, though I can say this much absolutely free of charge. Keir the Traitor Starmer is no Rick Grimes. If anything, I would probably liken him to that fucker in season 5, I believe. The guy who Rick promises to kill with a machete with a red handle. I'm sure people who've watched The Walking Dead will know exactly who I'm talking about. He sure as shit ain't no Negan, that's for sure. But I digress. I think over these last, I'd probably say 12 years, maybe even 16 to 20 years, we have been basically living in a situation where we're voting for the same uni party. Same shit, different colour tape. Because Labour were red, Conservatives were blue, and the one moment we got the Liberal Democrats, it was yellow. But we all know how much of a colossal failure they were. They couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag, quite frankly. But with this, I think it's safe to say that that fly needs to fucking die. Hold on. Hate the damn things. Anyway, it's safe to say that the Labour Party and the Conservatives in name only party have done absolutely fuck all for the benefit of the British people. You could probably argue a few small points about what these people have done. The best thing that ever happened from the Conservative Party was when David the Conman Cameron gave us all the EU referendum. But let's face it, he didn't want to give us the referendum. He kept repeatedly saying he didn't want to give us the referendum and that we weren't even going to have one. But he was forced to at the end of the day, because basically Nigel Farage forced his hand. It was that, or he loses all his fucking votes to UKIP. I mean, you can make of it what you will. That's probably the best thing I ever did. And it was only the best thing because we got a majority vote for Brexit. Unfortunately, it was poorly handled because we had Ramonas piloting the ship known as the HMS Brexit, which the mainstream media don't want to tell you, of course. But this isn't to talk about Brexit. This is to talk about how we do not live in a democracy anymore. Think about it. We all vote for the same parties over and over again. Obviously, there's a bit more change with the last election because a lot of like-minded people, like me, like Maya Toosey, like Tommy Robinson, we all voted Reform. because we were hoping that it would basically bring about a new age where we could actually have the Reform Party in power and able to basically take back control of our country. That's what it boils down to. Unfortunately, it was always going to be a hard ask against Keir the traitor Starmer, when the Conservatives haven't just shot themselves in the foot, they've taken a shotgun and blown their damn heads off, quite frankly. Like, they are all but unelectable at this point. But I think the Labour Party, as I've said before, have put themselves in a position where they too are going to blast their heads off with that shotgun and render themselves unelectable. For the simple fact, they have single-handedly alienated the entire world against them. How sad is it for a Prime Minister like Keir the traitor Starmer when you have people we fought against in wars, from Germany, from Italy, from Argentina, who are all coming out, outspoken MPs saying what the government is doing is a dictatorship. Or maybe I was right first time. Where we are living in a world where we no longer have free speech. If you dare to speak out, then you will be silenced. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. If they came out and categorically said that, which would be the first time they've ever spoken the truth in God knows how long, do you think the British people would sit there for 1 second and let them do that shit? No, they wouldn't. They'd be out on the streets protesting, rioting, and there would probably be civil war and anarchy. And frankly, the cold, bitter truth is, I think we're going to end up at that stage. I've said it before. I think, as much as I hate to say it, it probably needs to happen now. That doesn't mean I want it. That doesn't mean I like it. That doesn't mean I'll advocate for it. Let me be absolutely, unequivocally clear on that shit. I will never condone violence, or rioting, or pillaging, or generally being a racist. Let me be absolutely clear on that. Unfortunately, though, we're at a stage where Keir the traitor Starmer is doing everything he can to incite hatred, incite violence, and get the reactions he wants. And so are the media and the two-tier police, the the police. Or again, maybe I was right first time. The people who are effectively coming out of their way to charge at us, batons in hand, with their shields, at the slightest signs of resistance or overexcitedness with British patriots and concerned parents. While with Islam, we've all seen what they do. They run in the opposite fucking direction! Because why would they want to deal with Islam? They're too busy fucking running with their tails between their legs. That's my daily exercise. Anyway, they would rather run away from Islam. They'd rather run away from the problems. Because our police have become weak, complacent, and woke. They have become a laughing stock of the world. Who the hell goes out of their way in the police force to wear pride rainbows on their face? Who decides to go out of their way and paint little rainbows on the side of their patrol cars? Who goes out of their way, or who would go out of their way, to bend the knee to Islam and Black Lives Matter? I guarantee you, if you were to ask that question in the 1980s and the 1990s, you would see a very select handful do that. Other than that, I think 99.99% of the police would be like, we're not supporting that. Because at the end of the day, like living in a ditch said it better than anyone. His father wouldn't have put up with that shit. He'd be like, why the fuck are there rainbow cars here? Why are people bending the knee? Why are people wearing rainbows on their faces? Masks, or whatever. Tattoos. Markings. Why are they doing it? They'd be laughed out of the force. But now, wokery is seen as the new virtue signalling, point scoring bullshit. You're only scoring points with the political establishment, and you're scoring absolutely 0 points with the respect that you demand from the British people. Yeah, you want to demand respect from the British people when you're bending the knee to our enemies, which would make you unequivocal traitors. Yeah, you can fuck off right now with that notion. You can fuck right off with that idea of we need to respect you when you don't even respect us, number one, protect us, number two. Hell, you'll be lucky to see a fucking copper come out and investigate a burglary in a month of Sundays. But if you say something mean on the internet, then the police, they will fucking pull a hot fuzz, never taken a shortcut before, and they will leap over fences and shit just to get to your front door to arrest you for saying something that might have caused offence to some poor snowflake on X. This is why we don't live in a democracy, folks. Two-tier policing, two-tier media outage and footage and reporting, and a two-tier government from two-tier Kim Jong-kir Stalin the traitor Starmer. We don't live in a democracy anymore. Every time you vote for a different party, you're voting for the same party, it just has different colours, quite frankly. Maybe you could argue, well, the Conservatives will only sink us at a steady rate rather than Labour Party will sink us like they're literally throwing us off a fucking steep cliff. Maybe you could argue that. But it doesn't change the fact that we're going to get exactly the same thing that we've had over the last 20 years. Patriots and parents beaten senseless, arrested for being concerned or for having anti-establishment rhetoric, for being far right. We're not far right. We're right so far. That's the way I look at it. We're sick and tired of illegal immigrants coming over here, stabbing our kids. We're sick and tired of hate preachers from Islam, like Anjem Chowdhury, or the intolerant sect of Sunni Islam, who wants to see us blown up, stabbed in the face, seen as sleeves, basically, without using the other term, mainly what they use women for, if you catch my drift. And you expect us to respect the police and you, Keir the traitor Starmer? When you don't even put your own people first, you're putting the foreigners, you're putting the enemy, if anything, before your own people. This isn't a democracy, it's a dictastership. This is not a democracy, it's a regime. Keir the traitor Starmer only cares about protecting Islam and illegal immigrants. They have done nothing to protect the borders. They have done nothing to deal with the illegal immigrants. They have done nothing to combat the intolerant religion of Sunni Islam. They have done absolutely nothing to protect the British people. Why should we respect them when they don't respect us? Respect is earned, not given. Like I said to Yvette Cooper. And if we truly lived in a democracy, these politicians would be listening to us, telling us the truth, or at least doing their best to, and they'd be respecting our wishes. We have been asking for the last 12, if not more years, we need to control the numbers that are coming in. Now, people used to be like, well, we need to reduce the numbers, they need to be reduced. Now, people like me and other ordinary Brits are like, we need to stop all immigration because clearly this is endangering national security. It's putting our communities at risk. It's destroying our economy. It's turning our iconic NHS into an IHS. And it's doing other sorts of buggery and damage that I haven't even thought of. Which, of course, the mainstream media are not going to tell you. We can sit here all day and live under the illusion that we actually are living in a democracy. But I can tell you right now, that is unequivocally untrue. We are living in a dictatorship run by traitorous politicians who put political point scoring and their career over the country. They put the enemies that are clambering at the gates before the citizens who are afraid of said enemies at the gate. Rather than being the one that tells you, we're going to take out the trash and we're going to get rid of these scumbags from our country, they're the ones yanking on the chain to pull up the portcullis. They're the ones who are actively endangering us. Like I said, I do not want a violent revolution. I do not want to see rioting. I don't want to see pillaging. I don't want to see people using other people as sleeves. But at the end of the day, we've got a choice to make. Do we continue putting up with this crap from the establishment? Do we hold on for hope that we're going to last 4 years? We're not, let me tell you, we'll be lucky to survive 1. But are we going to survive 4 or 5 years to get the election in? No, we're fucking not. Because he's going to make sure we're wiped out by then. Or that the overwhelming odds against us are so severe, we won't even have a chance, even if we had a century to prepare ourselves. Keir the traitor Starmer is going all in on this. And when tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty. When peaceful resolution is made impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. I know the quote is, when you make peaceful resolution impossible, but that's beside the point. The point is, Keir the traitor Starmer won't stop. He is an evil, dangerous, reprehensible, disgusting human being. A traitor of the highest order. And I've said that about plenty of people. But I've said this before. We'll say it here again. And I would happily say it to his fucking face if he came to my front door or if I met him in the streets. He is the biggest traitor in history. Even worse than the likes of Tony Blair. We need to make a choice, folks. Are we going to continue down the peaceful route? In the hopes that maybe there's that slim hope that he's going to actually change? Or are we going to have to do the unthinkable? Like I said, I don't want it. I don't condone it. I'll actively condemn it. But I will completely understand why the people would feel they're pushed to this. That's the way I look at it. It's becoming increasingly apparent that this may be the only option left to us. Because he keeps shutting down peaceful resolution or keeps pouring on gasoline can after gasoline can. A fire starts small at first, in most cases, and only grows when you fail to smother the flames. But at this point, this fire has been festering for a long time, and it's basically a raging inferno at this point. And when it becomes a really bad fire, you call the fire brigade. At this point, we're the fire brigade, and we need to douse this flame. I just hope I sincerely and genuinely hope that we don't have to do it using other means. I want the fire doused. I want peaceful resolution, let me be clear. But we do not live in a democracy anymore, and I'm worried that Keir the traitor Starmer will push us to do something that will lead to blood on his hands.